Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Shannon tells us why he was so disappointed in Antonio Brown and believes his Facebook Live was more like OBJ and Des Bryant than AJ Green and Julio Jones. Skip believes Jerry Jones cares more about his adopted son, Tony Romo, than winning with Dak Prescott. The guys react to the latest rounds of Floyd Mayweather comments on Dana White. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard says no question about it, Carmelo Anthony will dig in and will not leave New York, and watch for a big play from the New York Knicks in free agency this summer. Plus, FS1 NFL analyst Chris Carter shares his reaction to Tom Brady's comments on the insurance salesman himself, Aaron Rodgers. Skip and Shannon, let's debate. The Cowboys season ended on Sunday against the Packers. Now the attention has turned to Tony Romo's future. Yesterday, Jerry Jones addressed the Romo situation. Let's take a listen.
I really believe that Tony Romo will play in a Super Bowl. I know that if he's healthy enough, standing, he'll be in a Super Bowl. I strongly believe that.
With a star on his helmet?
Well, I don't know where to go from there because I haven't gone there completely from my perspective and my decision, but certainly I feel very strongly what you saw that veteran quarterback do in Rodgers out there, Romo is capable of doing. Those are his kinds of plays. We've got a lot to think about here, but that's in the future. Don't think for 1 minute if you see something written or something said about what and where Romo is going to be relative to our team that there's any credibility to it. There's only one that can make that decision, and there's been no decision made.
Skip, after hearing that, do you think that Jerry will trade Romo?
I do not. I fully now expect Tony Romo to be the game one starter next year for my Dallas Cowboys. And I jokingly just told Shannon Sharpe he's in trouble today, but the truth is, in all seriousness, I'm in trouble today. Thank you very much. On yesterday's show, we reacted quickly to things Jerry had just said on his radio show. You just heard those remarks, but I had not yet heard the remarks until after we were off the air. And only when I heard the remarks and they went into my ears and down into my heart did the gravity, the depth of those remarks hit home with me. Shannon Sharpe, I've told you many times, I know Jerry Jones. I spent literally hundreds of hours around Jerry Jones over a 5-year period. I wrote 3 books in which Jerry was prominent. I observed him for many of those hours. I interviewed him for many more of those hours. I know him, and I know what he was saying in those remarks that you just heard. He was saying, I told you so. I told you that Tony Romo could have taken us farther than that rookie quarterback did just take us. And he was basically saying that I told you I was right when I gave all that money to Tony Romo back in 2013, and I'm going to show you how right I am. And to me, I believe that deep down in Jerry's too stubborn pride, that he was not unhappy that his Cowboys lost to Aaron Rodgers. Not unhappy because it clearly reopened the door, even if it just cracked open the door, for him to reinstall the quarterback, as we talked about, that he loves like a son, as his starting quarterback in Dallas, Texas. And you look at what he said. I strongly believe Tony Romo will play in a Super Bowl. Well, seriously, do you think he wants that to be for, let's say, the Denver Broncos or the Arizona Cardinals or, I don't know, the New York Jets? No, he wants it to be for the Dallas Cowboys. And then he said once again, and he said this before, what you saw Rodgers do Sunday, Romo is fully capable of doing. Now, you would scoff at that, but Jerry would not, because Tony Romo has sensational ability. He can fling it, not quite like Aaron can fling it, but he has that sort of nuclear capability.
He has some improvisation
in him. He does. He's got some playmaker in him, okay? And they all say if you saw him play basketball as a point guard type, he can really handle it. So he's got all that. He's like a point guard quarterback. Mm-hmm. So we get all that. Is he historically great? We'll talk about that in just a minute. But then Jerry concluded that don't believe anything you hear or read, because Only one can make that decision. Only one. He just said it publicly. The buck stops with me. I'm Jerry Jones. I'm the owner. I'm the general manager. I think he basically said, I'm the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
What about what Jason Garrett said? This was going to be an organizational.
Yeah. Jason, as I said yesterday, I was correct about this. Jason couldn't say anything yesterday. He couldn't bless Dak. He couldn't say, well, he's obviously the starting quarterback because the owner hadn't signed off yet.
Correct.
And so he's basically saying that I haven't made that decision yet, says Jerry Jones. Well, the mere fact that he hasn't made the decision after all he just watched Dak do for an entire season and a playoff game, that's all you need to know. The decision to me has been made. He is keeping Tony Romo, and Romo will be his starter next year. Now, I said yesterday, there's a chance, but I think it's a slim chance that he's just trying to drive up Tony's trade value with all these big comparisons to Aaron Rodgers kind of remarks. I don't believe that's going on here because I know the depth of Jerry's love for Tony Romo. So deep down, he's got the perfect Romo situation because he knows Dak can play, obviously. He witnessed that.
Right.
So he can slide Dak onto the back burner at a very reasonable price because he makes a rookie contract in fourth round.
I think it's like 2.6, 2.7 million over 4 years.
So it's good. So he can still fit Tony, as he said, under the cap. No problem. And then obviously we know Tony has injury history upon injury history. So he's got the best of both worlds as far as Jerry sees it because he can see how far Tony lasts, and maybe he lasts the way he did 2014 all the way into the playoffs. And then Jerry can say, I told you so. We got to a Super Bowl with Tony Romo. I'm going to say it again. Tony Romo will not win as many games as Dak Prescott just won. And I'm offended by the prospect that Tony Romo could be the starter over a kid who did nothing but prove that he wasn't just a good quarterback. He played at an elite level as a rookie quarterback. I don't think any rookie quarterback has ever played better than Dak Prescott, including the playoff game. And this is what I get as a fan. And I'm stuck because obviously I can't fire Jerry Jones. He owns the football team.
And you can't take your love to another team.
I won't take my love to another team.
Skip, I still believe Jerry will ultimately trade Tony Romo, but he's going to have to come to grips with reality. And Stephen Jones can't convince him, Jason Garrett can't convince him, and whomever sits at the table with him that he bounces ideas off. Only Jerry can convince Jerry that this needs to happen. Because what needs to happen is that Dak does not need to constantly look over his shoulder. As long as Tony Romo's there, there's always going to be that inclination. At the first slip up that Dak has, put Tony in the game. I don't understand. Jerry keeps saying Tony Romo can make those plays that we saw Aaron Rodgers make. In Tony Romo's best dream, in Jerry Jones' best dream, he can't play like Aaron Rodgers did on Sunday. Think about this, Skip. Tony Romo has played 6 playoff games. He's never had a 300-yard passing game. Dak had one Sunday. As a matter of fact, half of the games in which he played, so 3 of the 6, he's been less than 200. So how can Jerry come to the conclusion after what he's seen in 6 games in the playoffs? We're not talking about regular season because we've seen guys have great regular seasons, but they can't answer the bell come playoff time. There is no shame losing to Aaron Rodgers when he's playing like this. Tony Romo lost to Hasselbeck. And hey, you're in the NFL, but come on now. Losing to Matt Hasselbeck and losing to Aaron Rodgers is something entirely different, Skip. Jerry Jones says, think about this, what he said, Skip. He said, if. What owner you know, what business person you know says if when they're doing their business premise? He says, if he's healthy. The Tony Romo that he's talking about was 3 collarbone surgeries ago and 2 back surgeries ago. Out of a possible 32 games that he could have started in 2015 and 2016, Tony Romo started 4. So that's your history. Now you got a soon to be 37-year-old broken down quarterback that the owner hopes in order to get the validation that he so rightfully seeks. Skip, my grandfather told me once, he said, boy, you would rather do things your way and be wrong than do it the way I showed you and be right.
I think that's your first grandfather quote. Do you remember a grandfather quote?
I don't know.
Yeah,
No, these are grandma quotes.
A lot of my grandmother, because she was around a lot longer because my grandfather died when I was fairly young. But Skip, that's Jerry. Jerry would rather be wrong, says I'm going down with Tony Romo. That's my guy. I believed in him. That's why I gave him a $108 million contract. That's why I gave him $55 million guarantee. When every other person in the NFL, business circles, says you absolutely are out of your mind, because I believe Tony Romo can get us to a Super Bowl. But Jerry is basing it on if he's healthy. Jerry, the last 2 years, the guy has started 4 games for you out of a possible 32. And last I checked, Skip, you're in great shape. But as you're a professional athlete, the body doesn't get younger. You are what you are. Tony Romo is a fragile, soon-to-be 37-year-old quarterback. And everybody's one hit away. But he's closer to that one hit that's ending it all than most quarterbacks in the National Football League. And Skip, until Jerry comes to the realization that Dak... So the question is, you want Tony Romo for 1 to 2 years, or do you want Dak for 10 to 15 years? Because let me tell you what's going to happen now. This man says, I don't really need Dak Prescott. I'm thinking like a Dak Prescott. What else can I do? I go 13-3. I make the Pro Bowl. I take Aaron Rodgers to 2 all-time great throws and 2 great clutch kicks to beat me. And here's a guy that hasn't started out of a possible 32 but 4 games. And you're saying what he used to be is better than what I am now and moving forward. So guess what happens, Skip, when his contract comes up? Oh, you don't believe... So what makes me think you're going to believe in me? Skip, Jerry, I wish it was something I could tell Jerry, but you told me that he's stubborn to a fault. And he's made a lot of great decisions, and he's become wealthy, probably than his wildest imagination ever dreamed.
That is a fact.
But Skip...
From nothing to everything. Yep.
There's no possible way that I would keep a 37-year-old fragile quarterback over a 23-year-old under the circumstances in which he came through. Because Tony Romo was always going to be there, whether he was healthy or not. It was always, when Tony gets back, Tony's looking good on the practice field. Tony. What more can... Dak is made of the right stuff. Because if he didn't falter, because he could have easily faltered. When he got down 21-3, Skip, he could have easily started...
Folded.
Spreading the ball all...
Get desperate. Throw 3 picks, 40-14. No, 28 all.
But what I can't understand, okay, I get the regular season, but help me understand, Skip. What has Jerry seen in the playoffs? Because in order for you to get to the Super Bowl, you need to be big time come playoff time. What has Jerry seen from Romo in the playoffs that gives him so much confidence that Tony can get it done?
Okay, you are speaking and seeing with your head. He is speaking and seeing only with his pride, and it's blinding his view of Tony Romo. Remember, Jerry does have the benefit of, he's got 3 Super Bowl rings, so it's not like he never won one. Right. So he can always fall back on, well, I won 3 of these things. Now, it's been 21 years since you...
But he wants that validation that he picked.
And he discovered Tony Romo. It was under the Parcells regime, but Jerry takes a lot of credit as the GM for discovering the undrafted free agent from Eastern Illinois. You know, out of nowhere, we took a shot, a flyer on Tony Romo, and look what he turned into. Wouldn't it be something if he could say, I won my 4th Super Bowl with somebody we plucked out of nowhere? An undrafted free agent, and then against all odds and against all public outcry, I gave him a big, whatever it was, $108 million contract in 2013, $55 million guaranteed, and by God, we did it. We forged through, and I stuck with him when nobody else would stick with him, and we won a Super Bowl. Now, that's not going to happen, but that's what he's thinking with his pride. And what he's seeing, like sometimes I accuse you of seeing Aaron Rodgers just in a vacuum. Right. Is it just a beauty contest? Right. Because he can really fling it.
Yes.
But let's look at the results. Well, Jerry's just looking at a practice. He'll walk out at practice and see Tony escape from, like a non-contact drill from the rushers and wheel out and be falling down and throw it sideways. You know how you can do. Yes. And every once in a while you say, wow, I'm not sure anybody could have done that. Well, what's his playoff record? What happens when the money's on the table? Yeah, well,
with less than 200 yards in 3 of the games.
Right, and what happened to your unspectacular rookie quarterback who fell into your lap after you publicly said, we blew it, we should have gone up to get Paxton Lynch. And then maybe we should have taken Connor Cook. So he shamed himself by accident. He put himself out on the limb by saying, we picked the wrong quarterback. I should have plunged and gone after Paxton Lynch. He obviously wanted Johnny Manziel.
Yep.
So how can he take any credit for the quarterback from Mississippi State he didn't even want? Right. He can take virtually no credit for it because the kid did it all by himself. He fell into the job. We all know that because of 2 injuries. And then he seized the day like no rookie except maybe Russell Wilson has ever seized the day, right?
But he made, Russell was great. And maybe this might be a situation where you have a Russell Wilson. And we know what happened the second year. He went and won the Super Bowl and was a throw away from winning another Super Bowl. But I don't get Jerry. And Jerry keeps talking about, oh, yeah, he can make all these plays. Because I remember when he spent, J.J. Watt had Tony Romo for a sack. And Romo pirouetted out of
and closed his eyes and threw it as far as he could to Dez. Is that what you're talking about? And Dez jump balled it
and caught it for they panned to the owner's box.
Yep. That's my boy.
He high-fived
That's
Steven
my boy.
Skip.
Nobody can do that. They can.
But Skip, to say because you watched the guy in practice do what Aaron Rodgers did, because if it was so easy, Tony Romo's record would be better than what it is in the playoffs.
Sure.
If it's as easy as he said, because last I checked, he's been healthy going into every playoff game that he's lost. He's gone to 6 playoff games. He's won 2. He's 2-4. So I don't know what Jerry is seeing. Jerry is blinded. Like I said, I called him Tony Romo Jones, and I was making a joke. But I'm not so sure that he can't love Tony Romo any less than he loves his own kids. Because there's no way.
It's in the ballpark.
Yeah,
Skip. Yeah, it's hard to love somebody more than you do your sons, but whatever. I give you that.
But
he's part of their family.
Yes.
It's why he invited him up to his box to watch his grandson play the state title game at Jerry World. And it was a bad optics, as you say, bad look for Dak Prescott.
And didn't he fly on the owner's plane to Pittsburgh?
He sure did.
And they had the conversation about moving forward, how they were going to address this situation?
They did.
That's but for Dak, he's like, there's really nothing I can do. I've done everything that you've asked me to do. You said, okay, I need you to play well. Play well. I need you to take care of the football. Take care of the football. Although situations will not be ideal at times, I'm going to need you to show me that you can come from behind. Check, check, check. So what else?
Okay,
what
box office, like circus, sideshow box office? No. And I'll be the first to admit, is it the most fun to watch? No. Aaron Rodgers is much more fun to watch. Yeah. Jay Cutler's more fun to watch. He's going to do crazier things. All Dak does is execute and execute and execute. And to me, I'm going to say it again. I know you vehemently disagreed. I thought Dak, for a second time this year, outplayed Aaron Rodgers on Sunday in a playoff game. He threw 3 touchdown passes. He ran for a 2-point conversion. His passer rating was higher than Aaron Rodgers, but the play of the game, the one everybody focuses on and you say is one of the great throws in the history of the playoffs, maybe the greatest throw, was the Aaron Rodgers throw. Mm-hmm. And it was vintage Aaron Rodgers. So Dak didn't make that play, but it took a kicker making a 56-yarder and a 51-yarder to close the deal for Aaron Rodgers, who had a long stretch of a drought in that game from mid-second quarter on to that last play. And I thought overall Dak outplayed him, but your eyes can't process it because if you're doing the beauty contest, if you're doing who entertained me the most, well, Aaron entertained you the most, right? Because he made some throws that took my breath away, where I just said, well, that's just too good.
You know what I value more than box office? Winning.
Yeah.
I'll put that above.
Well, I know, obviously.
And I go back to the 2000 Ravens. Skip, we averaged 20 points a game. And look at all those offenses that averaged 25 and 30, but they were at home while we were playing in the Super Bowl. And at the end of the day, isn't that what it's about? It's about winning.
I was at your Tennessee game that year, and it was this physical football game, the most physical.
And it was ugly too, wasn't it?
And it was ugly, and it was a little hard to watch. Yes. I might have drifted a couple times up in the press box, but it was.
I was playing Skip, and I was drifting.
You're right, but it's a one-play game, and you made the play.
And that's what you. But for Jerry, I just don't know what else the kid can do. I mean, he's done everything. He's checked every box this year. Yeah. I mean, he's come from behind. He's, game-winning drives. He's been clutch throws, clutch runs. There's nothing else he can do.
It's just so wrong. It's just so wrong.
The ball's in Jerry's court.
It is.
So
it's his football team.
Because he's not going to, Skip, now he's not going to listen to Steven. He's not going to listen to Jason Garrett because he's going to say, see, I told you. I told you if we'd inserted Romo like I wanted to, when I wanted to do it, Romo would have beat Aaron Rodgers.
He would tell you right now, I promise, if we're sitting right here, especially if we're off camera, maybe on camera, he would say, Tony would have outgunned Aaron Rodgers on Sunday.
I guarantee you the score would have been more lopsided than what it was because Tony would have put the ball in harm's way.
Totally agree.
Jerry's slick now, though.
He is.
Ooh,
It's tough-
Skip, if he keeps...
It's tough
Skip,
to tell
are you
if
gonna
he's
be
doing this. I mean, he obviously loves Romo.
I got
but
it.
Can your heart take
it's
it?
fair to make that point. I'm just going on my gut, knowing in the way I know. And when I heard the depth of those remarks, the emotion he spoke them with,
Yeah.
I think it's Romo is back.
I know you got 7% body fat and you drink all these shakes and eat air and grass.
I eat protein.
Can your heart take, come August, Tony Romo still on this roster? Can your heart take that, Skip?
I don't know. That's a good question, actually. Seriously.
No mercy. Last week, Dana White offered Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather $25 million each and a split of the pay-per-view purchases for a potential fight. This week, Mayweather fired back at Dana. Let's take a listen.
I don't want to talk to Dana White. Remember, Dana White, he was a player, he was a boss, but he was a small boss. You know, the big bosses were the Fertittas.
Yeah.
But then Fertittas choose to sell the UFC, so Dana is just an employee. Dana White, I like Dana White, I don't have anything against him, but I can remember Dana White used to hang around me and Jeff Mayweather and carry my bags.
Yes.
I remember Dana White, you know, I remember you used to carry my bags. I remember Dana White, I showed you love.
You did.
You had the little Bullenbizer patch I wore on my trunks for you, Dana. I've always been good to you. But then all of a sudden he cut his head bald, and he's such a tough guy. He's such a tough guy. All I gotta say is this. Why every time Conor McGregor go out there and fight, Dana White is still an employee, but Dana White makes more money than Conor McGregor when McGregor go out there and fight.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm signing off. It's all about Mayweather Promotions.
Always.
Here we go again.
Money.
Here we go again.
Skip, what's your reaction?
My reaction is, so now Floyd Mayweather Jr. is attempting to kill the messenger, or at least belittle or ridicule the messenger, in order to deflect attention off the matter that really matters, which is, will you, Floyd, or will you not, may or may not whether, box Conor McGregor? I say he never will. But yes, to Floyd's point, Dana White's a great American success story. Dana White worked his way up the ladder. Dana White paid his dues and now is in a very prominent position in a sport that has eclipsed boxing in popularity. And yes, Dana White still has his bosses, but Dana White is out front running this sport right now, and so he is in a position to make an offer to Floyd Mayweather Jr. None of what the background is matters. He once carried Floyd bags. It does not matter, because all that really matters is that Dana White has been authorized to offer Floyd may or may not whether Jr. a 50-50 deal. $25 million to him, $25 million to Conor McGregor, and a split of the pay-per-view. And I'm going to say it again, Floyd, globally, Conor McGregor is now far bigger, far more popular than Floyd Mayweather Jr., who is almost 40 years of age and who hasn't fought a real fight for almost 2.5 years. And I do not count the Pacquiao fight, because Manny Pacquiao, one more time, fought with a torn rotator cuff that needed surgery the next morning. So I'm throwing that one out. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is close to being a has-been, a washed-up fighter, a wannabe global icon, because he's fading from view. And right now, Floyd is lucky that Dana White has offered him a 50-50 split. He should be thankful that Conor McGregor would get a kick out of boxing Floyd Mayweather Jr., because, frankly, what does Conor need this for? He'll continue to rise through the UFC ranks. And the truth is, Floyd will never, ever box Conor McGregor, because he couldn't risk his legacy. He couldn't risk getting his little butt kicked in a boxing match by an MMA fighter and tainting his 49-0 record by an MMA fighter. So he will continue to deflect attention. He will kill the messenger, ridicule the messenger. He will jab and run. He will jab and he will run. And he will never, ever dare to risk fighting Conor McGregor Jr. in a boxing match.
I agree with you on one thing. I mean, where Dana White started and where he ended up, really has nothing to do, because I was one of those guys that started at the bottom and kind of worked my way, and here I am on television doing a show with you, Skip. So that has nothing to do with it. For me, Dana White saw it on our show, and he said this so many times that there's no possible way that this fight could happen. But then I always say, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. Now he started crunching the numbers. If Pacquiao did this, people are starting to clamor for that. Man, this might be $500, $600, $700 million. So let me take this offer. But if I'm Conor McGregor, I said, I appreciate that, Dana White. Because for the longest time, you told me, and you told everybody that would listen, and every fight fan in the UFC, Ronda Rousey is the biggest draw.
He did.
You just went on television, or you went on radio and says, Conor McGregor is the A-side. So whether I fight Floyd Mayweather or not, it's going to cost you $25 million plus a back-end part of the pay-per-view moving forward. So that's all he's done. He's made Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's going to double down now. I want to talk to you about a piece, but moving forward, it's $25 million for me to step into the ring, and then we'll negotiate the back end of the pay-per-view buys. Because if you say if I'm the A guy, so really I don't really need Floyd because I'm the A guy. People are coming to see me.
He is the A guy.
Yeah. So guess what? You know what Floyd Money Mayweather's price is. $100 million guaranteed, Skip Bayless, and we get a big percentage, not a small, not like that 0.5. We get a big percentage of the pay-per-view buys. You know this, Dana White, so don't come think I'm gonna grovel. You saw those Hermes bags. He got an Hermes bag called $400,000, stuffed with cash.
Well, you got one that's what?
No, I ain't got no Hermes.
Oh, yes, you do.
No, I ain't got no.
It's the one you bought on New York City streets, right?
I got a Helen bag or a Rochelle.
Yeah.
I ain't got no Hermes.
Okay.
But Skip, you and I both know if Floyd is going to take this fight, because anytime, listen, I don't believe Conor could beat him, but in sports, anything can happen.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers can beat Dak Prescott on a 56-yard field goal. You never know. Go ahead.
I wish I had some more. I wish I had some more.
You-
Skip, why would you even, the man has not had a $25 million payday since hammer was a hatchet. Now, how long do you got to beat a hammer to make it a hatchet, make it sharp like that? A long time, right, Joey? Right. Get a man $100 million.
The other man might get $100 million too. You might be right about the payday could be much higher for both, but it's going to be 50-50. Or heck, Conor could say 60-40 Conor. He's the draw. You just said it. He's the A-side.
He's the draw in UFC. He's not the draw in boxing.
Well, this is a mix of UFC and boxing. I know they're not going to, these are boxing rules.
And they're going to have boxing gloves.
But who's the bigger draw globally? It's Conor McGregor.
They're not going to.
Floyd's out of sight, out of mind.
When they go to Vegas and they fight in that center at the MGM, and Floyd lumps him up and come out of there, because Floyd's looking to come out and say, look, I got $100 million guaranteed plus the pay-per-view buys, which is going to be, I think Floyd and Manny did 4.5, 4.4, 4.5. So I'm looking at it like, this is going to probably do 5.5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make, if I made $300 million with Manny, I'm going to make me about $400 or $500 million to lump him up, because I don't want Floyd to knock him out. I don't want Floyd to knock him out, because that's the easy way out. I want him to punish him.
Who has Floyd ever lumped up?
Like, you remember when Muhammad Ali, when Floyd Patterson, they called him, and Ernie Terrell, they called him by...
Are you comparing Floyd to Muhammad Ali?
Listen,
Please don't.
I'm saying, do you remember when they
I know exactly what he did.
And he said, what's my name?
He just punished
and
the man.
That's what I wanted to do to Conor McGregor. I wanted to say, Conor, what's my name? And don't call him Floyd. Say money. And every time he don't say money, Mayweather, I want you to punch him again in the mouth. Boop, boop.
Hit him with those little gnat punches.
Boop, boop. Every time. What's my name? And I want you to look at the ring and say...
Connor's saying to him, did you just hit me or not? I didn't feel that.
And every time after he give him that 1-2 combination, I want him to look at Dana White in the audience and say, Dana, see what you got your boy? Mm-hmm. You see what you caused this on. You brought this on him. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to lump him up.
Remember Ali, Rumble in the Jungle?
Yes.
Rope-a-dope, on the rope?
Yes.
George Foreman's to the midsection.
Yep.
And Ali's looking at him saying, is that all you got?
Yeah.
That would be Conor to Floyd. Is that all you got?
And you're going to...
Really?
But
that's all you got?
And they asked George, they said, well, George, why didn't you want a rematch with Ali? He said, for what? To get beat up again? I ain't want no parts of that. Mm. After Floyd lump him up, he's 50-0. I want Floyd to sit down. I will come out to Vegas. We're going to have us a good time. We're going to go to the high roller section. We're going to bet on some games or something. And I will go chill. Me and Floyd. And, hey, I'm going to get on Facebook Live, me and Floyd.
Yeah.
Hey, Skip. We back here, we just did your boy Conor McGregor in. Hey, fans. Ooh, that's 400. 500, 1,000.
You riding in the
50,000.
Maybach right now?
Oh, no, we're going to be in the Bugatti.
The Bugatti?
Yeah, that's
He's
Bugatti.
only got like 75 cars in the garage, so.
We're going to be driving. And Conor McGregor ain't got one.
Huh?
He ain't got one car.
He doesn't need a car. He limos.
He doesn't have a car.
I don't know. He probably got a car.
He has several very nice cars.
But if I'm Conor McGregor, I'm telling Dana White moving forward, for me to fight Diaz, for me to Aldo or Alvarez or whomever, $25 million, that's the starting price, and I'm getting a part of the pay-per-view. That's it. Other than that.
Now it sounds like Nate Diaz getting his boxing license. He wants to box Conor also, right?
Oh, he don't want to see.
Well, maybe they're interested in getting the money on their own.
Everybody interested.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
No mercy. After the Steelers advanced to the AFC Championship game on Sunday, Antonio Brown showed Mike Tomlin's post-game speech in the locker room on Facebook Live. Ben Roethlisberger said he was, quote, a little disappointed in Brown's actions. Tomlin addressed the situation yesterday. Let's take a listen.
I'll be bluntly honest here. It was foolish of him to do that. It was selfish for him to do that. And it was inconsiderate for him to do that. Not only is it a violation of our policy, it is a violation of league policy, both of which he knows. So there are consequences to be dealt with from his perspective. We will punish him. We won't punish us. And we'll do so swiftly, and we'll do so internally. And I'll imagine that there are consequences associated with the National Football League's policy in that regard. I'm sure that he'll appropriately absorb all of those things and as he moves forward. But larger than that, he's got to grow from this. He has to. He works extremely hard. He's extremely talented. And those things get minimized with incidences such as this. And the reality is that those things that don't apply exclusively to Antonio. It's a global thing in regards to professional sport. I think that's oftentimes why you see great players move around from team to team. And I definitely don't want that to be his story. I'm sure he doesn't want that to be his story. So he has to address these things that put him and us in positions from time to time as settings such as this where it needs to be addressed.
Brown tweeted an apology last night saying, I let my emotions and genuine excitement get the best of me, and I wanted to share that moment with our fans. It was wrong of me to do against team and NFL policy, and I've apologized to Coach Tomlin and my teammates for my actions. I'm sorry to them for letting it become a distraction and something that they've had to answer questions about while we're preparing for a big game on Sunday. Shannon, are you buying Brown's apology?
Absolutely not. And I'm so disappointed in Antonio Brown for this very reason. I thought he was more like A.J. Green and Julio Jones than Odell Beckham Jr. and Dez Bryant. And come to find out, he's more like them than we previously thought, the latter two. He just hit it better. He took a great team win and turned it into a selfish individual act. This was not about his emotions. This was about him getting Facebook likes, follows, and mentions and retweets. That was more important to him than hear what Mike Tomlin had to say about the great victory that they had and what they needed to do in preparing to beat the New England Patriots.
By the way, I read that he gets paid for this, just for the record, so he's trying to not even enhance his brand. He's making money off it. Go ahead.
Exactly. And so he knew, the thing is, he knew what he was doing was wrong because he hid behind the corner out of Coach Tomlin's sight. Because if he thought it was okay, this would have been a great time to get him and Coach Tomlin together talking like this.
Yep.
And I said this before, I believe this with all my soul and all my being. Social media has allowed us to get a glimpse into someone's life from thousands and thousands of miles away. And what social media has also done, it allows you to see who they actually are. You're most comfortable in your own setting or environment. Football players are very comfortable in the locker room because they spend a lot of their time there. They let the guards down. You're at home. You go home, Skip, you probably get in the recliner and kick your feet up. You wouldn't go do that to somebody else's house, but that's not your house. At your house, you're comfortable. Walk around in a T-shirt, you think he's swole and everything,
Hey, I don't have a T-shirt.
Oh, Skip, stop it. You need to stop it. But he was comfortable. And to say he was excited, Skip, here's a man that's averaging probably over the last 4 years, probably 125 catches per season, probably 1,500 yards per season. And you mean to tell me you've never been excited with something you caught in game-winning touchdowns? But this excitement, Skip, we should have saw this, because here's a guy that received 3 excessive celebration penalties.
He did.
Although he knew at the time his defense was struggling, and it was more important to him to showcase his dancing ability. He was twerking, he was sliding down the fireman's pole. That was more important to him than saying, you know what, my defense is struggling. Why would I give an offense 15 fewer yards need to go in order to score? It's been about him, and I'm so disappointed because I thought he was Julio Jones. I thought he was A.J. Green, but he's more Dez, he's more Beckham Jr. than we previously thought. And this gave us an opportunity to see him for what he is.
Yep.
But here's the point, Skip. He still doesn't get what he did was wrong, because he posted on social media an apology. He apologized to the very people he was trying to please. If you apologize to your teammates, if you apologize to Coach Tomlin and the Steelers, if you went upstairs into the Rooneys, that should be done. You didn't have to post that you apologized, because, see, that's what got you in trouble to begin with. You're trying to please people that applaud what you do, not who you are. Mike Tomlin said, and I don't know, he says, it's a global thing in regards to professional sports. And I think often while you see great players move around from team to team, I definitely don't want that to be his story. Shots fired, Antonio Brown.
Yep.
There's only really one position that's untouchable in Pittsburgh history, and that's been the quarterback position. Because we saw them trade Santonio Holmes after he won Super Bowl MVP.
Yep.
We've seen a lot of great players leave that organization. Rod Woodson, Hall of Fame. Kevin Green, Hall of Fame. Yancey Thigpen was a great receiver for them. A lot of guys leave. So, Antonio Brown, let this be a lesson learned to you. Coach Tomlin said the punishment will be swift. We're going to punish him, not us. I mean, everybody just you suspend him. No, don't suspend him. But I'm going to hit your pockets.
Yeah.
So whatever the fine, whatever the max I can fine him for conduct detrimental to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm going to hit his pockets there. I'm sure the NFL would like to have a conversation, because, Skip, what if Mike Tomlin was up there mofoing and SOBing and talk about cheating and all that stuff? That's going out live, Skip. I get NFL films comes in the locker room, but the teams have control over what goes out.
Sure. They can edit.
Yes.
Yes.
Skip, this is raw. And like I said, and Coach Tomlin said, it was regrettable on my part. And that's what I said, Skip. It put him in a very uncomfortable situation.
Did it?
Man, Antonio Brown, bro, I thought I knew you better than that, but it just goes to show you, you'll never know what a person's like until they actually reveal to you who they actually are.
Yep. That was one of the great speeches you have given on Undisputed, and I greatly appreciate every word you just spoke. And you were the first person I thought of very early on Monday morning when I first saw this, because my first thought was, can you imagine Antonio Brown daring to try this in the Ravens locker room in 2000? I realize we didn't have this technology, but just for instance, can you imagine what Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharpe would have done to Antonio Brown that day?
You know what I'd have done, Skip. I'd have broken. I'm sorry. Because there are things that are said in the locker room are for players' ears only.
It's such a betrayal. It's such a violation of an unwritten rule of what is said here stays here. Isn't that the ultimate locker room rule?
Ultimate.
And speaking of great speeches, I thought Mike Tomlin gave a great one yesterday.
Absolutely.
But listen, he also gave a great one Sunday night in that locker room, and I felt in a weird way privileged to be able to hear it through this technology that was in it. It was the wrong way to hear it, but even though he was taking some shots at the Patriots, we get that. He's so inspirational. I've said this many times. If I could play pro football and choose my coach, that would be the coach I would want to play for.
He would be first for me too, Skip. First for me.
And this is part and parcel of why I think he's underrated as a football coach. He's an elite football coach. You can talk about X's and O's or whatever you want to talk about. This man gets his team ready to play, and it does play the right way.
Yes.
And he's offended by those 15-yard penalties that his receiver gets. He's a little caught in a bind because his receiver, you can make a case, is the best receiver in pro football. I know Julio's right there.
It's him and
but
Julio.
But this one, you want to talk about game changer. This little man can change games several different ways. You can kick it, you can put him back and let him return kicks, or you can hand it to him on little reverses, little jet sweeps, whatever you want to do, and you can throw it all over the lot to him, and he'll catch it any way you need him to catch it. And he will go over the middle and catch the ball, even at a diminutive size. So we get all that. He's made 4 straight Pro Bowls. But what got me about it was that the more I watch the video of Antonio, I know Antonio, and trust me, if you're around him off camera, off the field, he's sweet-natured, but he doesn't get it. Like he's just kind of like wide-eyed about, I'm on social media. I'm going to do this. He doesn't think about the team. He is caught up in being Antonio. He loves him some Antonio. He does. And yet, as I watched the video of him live on Facebook, he's almost mocking his coach. You know, he's kind of like, get a load of this guy talking over my shoulder. He's not even participating in the group. You know, that's what got me. That's the violation. That's the betrayal to me. And he put his coach in position of having to apologize yesterday for Mike Tomlin's language. He said, I take my job as a role model very seriously, and I apologize to everyone out there for the language that I used and the remarks that I made. He did that to his coach on the eve of the biggest game they've played in quite some time in Pittsburgh, right? Yes. They have a chance to get to the Super Bowl. And I'll just say this. He didn't help his chances of getting to the Super Bowl, his team's chances. And I love that line, as you said, we'll punish him, but we won't punish us. And Mike Tomlin had to be adamant about, I have absolutely no worries regarding the impact on this game. I do have some worries for Pittsburgh's sake. I do think it's going to be some distraction in the category of the Odell goes to Miami with the receivers distraction. It does put more pressure on Antonio because the spotlight's going to be hot on him up in Foxborough. Right. But I will give him this. Antonio's made of tougher stuff than Odell is. Yeah. Like big game. Remember, that was Odell's first ever playoff game, and Antonio's played in 8.
Plus, they got a guy that can turn around and hand it to 30 times.
They do.
And he can go get you a $150 between a $150 and a $180.
Yeah, so it's not like you're the only.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Because the Packers, we're not even worried about your run game. It's going to be hard. Because like I said, if you look at when they played the Patriots this year, Ben didn't play. Yep. When they played him early last year, Le'Veon Bell wasn't in the lineup. So this is the first time that they're going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers with this big three.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody being healthy. Their defense is playing a lot better. But I'm just disappointed because he told, there's nobody else in the video but him. If he's so happy it's a team win and everything, where your team?
There are a couple other receivers who participated for a moment here and there.
And
I'm not even sure who they were.
As Mike Tomlin's talking, he's looking down like, okay, 100, 200, 500,000. Whoa. That's what this is about. And that's what guys, look, there will be a time and a place for all of this.
Yep.
And I tell guys, I want you to be selfish because if you're going to be selfish, if you want to be an all-pro, if you want to make the Pro Bowl, an MVP, you know what you're going to do? You're going to put the time in training. You're going to put the time in film study. You're going to eat properly. You're going to make sure everything is on the up and up.
Yep.
But when your goals supersede that of the team, or you become bigger than the team, or you think your brand is bigger than the team, that's where you and I part ways. Skip, I have lost a lot of friends because of things that were said in the locker room or things that were said on the practice field, and then they go home and pillow talk. Pillow talk is that, you go lay down and you're talking to your wife or you're talking to your girlfriend, and it gets back that Shannon said this or X said that.
Yep.
Well, I got no use for you because what we talk about at work is what we talk about. What we talk about on the practice field is what we talk about. And for Antonio Brown to get, look, I know everybody wants access. What do you guys talk about? What do you guys say? But that's some things are better left unsaid and unseen. And Antonio Brown, that's a no-no, bruh.
And bottom line, he did split that team because the first wave of react came from players who supported Antonio. And then there was a wave yesterday featuring Ben Roethlisberger where they were like, no, this isn't cool.
Yeah.
So now you got your locker room a little split over this. And this will be very interesting. Will Antonio speak to this today as opposed to posting a statement about it? Will he own up and fess up and say, I apologize to the world, to the media today?
I think Coach Tomlin and the PR staff of Pittsburgh will give him something with what he should say, stay along these points. tie it in a nice little bow, and don't take any questions.
Maybe.
We're going to talk about the New England Patriots moving forward.
No mercy. Phil Jackson and Carmelo Anthony had a reportedly contentious meeting yesterday to go over speculation that Melo could be traded. Phil reportedly asked Melo if he would like to remain with the team, and Melo reaffirmed his desire to stay in New York. We're joined by Chris Broussard. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Joy. Good to be here.
How does this play out?
Melo is not going anywhere. He's been through Mike D'Antoni, Mike Woodson, Derek Fisher, Kurt Rambis, Jeff Hornacek. He's missed the playoffs 3 of his 6 years there. Phil has all but told him,
We don't want you.
exactly. If I think everything's going well and my wife calls me into the bedroom and says, do you want to stay married? I know something's amiss. They're ready to
You already know the answer to that.
Exactly. They're ready to get rid of him.
What's your answer?
And
You say
he's
yes or no?
I'm cool.
Okay.
But he still hadn't waived his no trade clause. Remember, when he signed with the Knicks, he could have went to Chicago when they were good.
Yeah.
He could have went to the Lakers when they still had Kobe. He chose to stay in New York. Last year, there was talk about Kevin Love for him, and he and LeBron reportedly talked, and Melo didn't want to waive his no trade clause.
Yep.
What more could happen to make him want to leave New York? He loves New York. He loves the stage. It hasn't helped him basketball-wise, but his celebrity has gotten bigger.
Sure. Right.
I think Melo has accepted. I mean, they can talk about he wants to win in New York. Melo's not stupid. They're not winning in New York. I think he's accepted. When you look at his commercials, he pokes fun at the fact that he hadn't won anything in the NBA yet, but he's won all these other things, Olympics, the NCAA. Like, I think he's looking at, look, I want to close out my career. I'm going to be a Hall of Famer, and what he's going to do after basketball. Now, if I'm the Knicks, this is what I do, because I can't get rid of him. I'm going all in on getting CP3 this summer.
Wow.
That's what he's boys with Melo. It's not working out with the Clippers. They appear to be snake bitten.
Yeah,
so maybe you can get Chris Paul.
He get hurt every year. I agree with you. Melo's not going anywhere. Skip, he forced his way out of Denver, and he could have forced his way out of Denver and gone to any other team in the NBA. He wanted to be in New York. He's not going anywhere. If Phil, you the one that need to go, because Phil, we give Phil is a great coach. He won 11 titles. His coaching argument is unquestioned. But Phil is the interior designer. He didn't build no house. He decorated it. He had Kobe. He had Shaq. He had Michael. He had Scottie. Jerry Krause selected those players. Jerry West, Mitch Kupchak selected those players. Phil coached those players. Now we think Phil knows how to build a team. No, Phil knows how to coach a team. And he keeps trying to run this antiquated system, the triangle, but he won't take his butt down on the sideline to coach it. If you want them to run that, how about you coach that? If I'm Melo, I ain't waving nothing. I say, you know what, Phil? I'm going to get all my money right here in New York. And guess what? You're going to get tired and you're going to say, you know what? What's the other name?
He's going to be here longer than Dolan.
Dolan. Like Dolan, hey, keep this last $12 million because I can't work with Carmelo. Carmelo say, bye. Because like you said, he's been through 5 head coaches.
How bad is it going to get? How much worse is it going to get?
You know, a lot worse. Because I know Phil. I covered Phil in Chicago. The Zen master is the ultimate spin master, slyest fox out there.
Yes.
And
so you think the Charlie Rosen article,
the Cold War has begun, and it will escalate, and they will try to make Melo's life in the locker room and around the franchise miserable, because this is the way Phil does business. He is now desperately attempting to undo the biggest mistake he made, which was to give Carmelo all that money when he was starting to get to the backside of his career. So he's using Charlie Rosen. Those who don't know, he ghostwrote all of Phil's books. And now Phil is ghostwriting for Charlie Rosen as he blogs on whatever it's called, fanrag.com. Okay? And this is so outrageous what Charlie Rosen wrote, and it's obviously straight from the horse's mouth as in Phil's mouth, to say Carmelo Anthony's legs are going, almost gone. And he resists any offensive game plan that limits his one-on-one adventures, and that he's got sticky fingers that cause the offense to come to a grinding halt. And I could go on and on, but he shoots blanks in the clutch. It's outrageous. He just takes him apart.
What reporter, Skip? You've been in this business a long time. What reporter would go to that length to talk about everything that everybody's always said about Carmelo.
Yeah,
Oh,
and he's Phil's guy.
And then he goes off on, he's actually sort of shopping Carmelo in the blog, like, how about the Cavaliers or the Clippers? And because Melo said, I would go to the Cavaliers or the Clippers.
Right.
And then he goes into, what about the rebuilding Lakers or Toronto or Oklahoma City or Chicago or Atlanta? Or what about Portland? You know, like he's shopping it. Like, here, Carmelo, how about this? And sending out messages. Hey, give us a call. We'll work something out, right?
The thing is, what are you getting from Melo at this point? If you're Cleveland, I'm not giving up Kevin Love.
No.
I've won it with him already. He's younger. We talked about it. He's not ball dominant like Melo. The Clippers, if I could get Blake Griffin for him and I'm New York, I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Okay.
But why would the Clippers do that?
Right.
They wouldn't do
it.
it.
At best, it's a lateral move. At best. And I don't even think it's that because he's older.
It's not.
So what else? I don't see the move that's out there to be made.
Melo's only 32, but I keep forgetting. And I looked this morning, I thought, he's 14 years in the league. Yeah. 14 years?
And he's still a good player, like a very good player, I'd say.
Sure.
Yeah. Still can get you 20
I got
6,
it.
20
But when Melo at last summer's Olympics said, this means more to me than even that's when I knew he's just sort of made peace with the fact that in New York, I'm just going to play it out. And listen, he's become a force as an entrepreneur in New York City. He's got his hand in a lot of big businesses.
And that's the thing, though, Skip. You know, look, you can be a great player and not win the ultimate prize. I mean, look at Karl Malone. Look at Charles Barkley. There are a lot of guys that were great NBA players that don't win a championship. There are a lot of guys in a lot of different sports.
Yeah.
I mean, so
and
what?
He did carry Syracuse as a freshman to
as
a
a
title.
true freshman.
So you got to give him that.
Exactly.
And Denver, he went there with 17 wins, and they made the playoffs. They got to 40 wins.
They got to the conference final.
They were better than the Cavs with LeBron initially.
Nope.
And then he got to a conference final. So
well,
I think the narrative that he's just a loser.
Melo, and I know him. This is going to get uglier.
Hey,
it will.
I think Melo will dig in. The uglier Phil gets with it, I think Melo will dig in.
If Melo after this year is owed $54.1 million, buy you some earplugs and keep dribbling the ball, Melo.
Well, like you said, he's been playing for 14 years. Sometimes quality of life at this point in your
exactly.
career is more valuable than going to try and get a championship.
Hey, I'm happy. I'm content.
Everybody can't beat Kevin Willis, win an NBA championship in year 20.
No mercy. Tom Brady will face Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl if both quarterbacks win on Sunday. Earlier this week, Brady praised the Packers quarterback. Let's take a listen.
I think he does things that no one in the league has ever done or can do just because of his physical ability. And, some of the plays he makes are just phenomenal. And I've seen a lot of them, not just the throws, but the scrambles. I mean, he had one in the Giant game. It's just his style of play. And he's been doing that for a while. So it was fun to watch him play. I mean, I always love watching him play. Whenever he's on, I usually stay up and watch just because I love watching him play. I always love watching his tape, admiring all the things that he can do because, I can't do many of those things.
We're joined by Chris Carter. Welcome, Chris.
Good morning. Welcome.
How are you?
Did you hear that, Skip?
Yes, I did. It made me laugh. Go ahead.
Chris, are you surprised that Brady said this about Rodgers?
No, I wasn't surprised. Tom, if you look at all his interviews, the few things that he does a radio spot, he does something with Jim Gray. I typically listen to him the last couple of years because Tom is very insightful as far as the things he's going to talk about. He's not going to talk about a lot of different topics, but the ones that he talks about and the people that he goes on with, he's very, very comfortable. So I think Tom is a genuine person from the players I know that have played with him. And when are we ever going to get to the point where we want the athlete to be honest. So now the athlete gives us an honest soundbite. I honestly think this guy, and this is the way, because Aaron Rodgers is better at those things than Tom Brady. But it has nothing to do with Tom Brady's greatness. There's other wide receivers that I looked at and admired and wish I could do things like them. I couldn't do those things, but I knew the things that I could do were special in their own right. So it's not as if I didn't think I was better than them, but it's just being blatantly honest with yourself. And that's the way I improved. I got cut-ups of all kind of different receivers and tried to duplicate some of the things they would do. But it also taught me there's a lot of things, bro, you can't do. So don't try to do those things. And I think that's part of your own. I think you're responsible for your own development, your own growth. And I think what Tom is doing, he also said, the tape that I watch of Aaron Rodgers. Now, they don't play a lot of common opponents. So what he's done is had the video people cut up stuff of all the great players, and he's being a student of the game to try to improve his game. So I got nothing but admiration for him, and I'm so glad that some athletes are being honest And you don't have to always be macho and everything. It's not about that. But I like his analysis, and it's very, very true as far as what Aaron can do compared to the rest of the quarterbacks we've seen in the last 30 years.
You see that bang that Skip forehead? When it started to come out like that, Skip, he upset. But what I know is that Tom Brady's been watching Undisputed because he used the term effortless.
Oh, did you use that?
He makes it look...
If he'd said historically great, I'd give you that.
He makes it look easy, and it's not easy. And he's doing things no one can do currently or ever. Because I said those things. And I agree, CC, 1,000%. It doesn't make Tom Brady any less to compliment other great players. Larry Bird, after Michael Jordan dropped 63 and they lost, Larry Bird said that was God disguised as Michael Jordan. No one said, oh, he just gave Michael Jordan a competitive edge. Greatness recognizes greatness. What you try and do is that he's not going to have, hey, Josh, I need you to have some plays, or you roll, have I dash to the left and let me open my hips and throw the ball. You play to your strengths and you stay away from your weaknesses.
But you have to know your weaknesses.
That's it. That's it. And when you like when you say you watch tape, I watch tapes of receivers. I didn't watch tapes of tight ends because I came from a receiver's background. I'm used to running routes. Out wide, I had to learn how to run routes in a congested area, have to control your body because there's a lot of bodies around you. It is, well, you can't, it's almost now, well, Magic would have never said Bird was great, and Isaiah would have never said Stockton. Why? It's okay to compliment greatness because just because you're a great player and you compliment somebody else, that doesn't make you less great. That makes you understand that what they're doing is unique and you admire it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
The truth of the matter, I've been studying this show for a long time. I've been a guest of the show at the other place. And then when I thought I might be coming, I was studying the show. I was studying the segments.
This guy does
I was
every
studying
day.
the sound bites because I want to be prepared. Man, there's no one better at debating than Skip Bayless. So let me get my stuff together. And what's wrong with that?
Everything he's done for the last 3 years, every topic, I go back and watch it.
Yes.
His body language, his position, on a particular, his facial features. I freeze it, and I'm looking at him. I was like, Oh, so that
hadn't helped you a bit.
No, yeah. So I said, oh, that's where you going, Mr. Bayless. So I know you. But
I'm,
you know
I'm
why?
about to go again right now.
Okay.
Because
go deep.
You're a student of the game.
Tom Brady is the ultimate split personality football player. And you guys have known a lot of them where off the field, day to day, they can be just a sweetheart of a guy, just the guy next door kind of a guy, good father, good husband, role model. And then some switch gets flipped on Sunday and they go complete psycho warrior.
Yes.
And you say, what is wrong? You got a screw loose, man. Well, they do. And I think in a good way, Tom Brady has one screw loose somewhere way back in there. And I've heard this from a lot of people who know him very well, that the offensive linemen especially appreciate him because when it's time to play, this man is a bad you-know-what. When it is time to make plays that only he can make the way he makes the plays, he will make those plays. And he's complimenting from the ultimate position of strength because obviously he's won 4 Super Bowls and I think he should have had 5 or even 6, but he's got 4. And obviously in the postseason, he's now 23-9 and Aaron is up to 9-6, which is not bad, but it's not Tom Brady. And Tom Brady knows he ran the most hideous, embarrassing-looking 40-yard dash in the history of the combine, which knocked him down a couple notches more, and he's a 6th-round pick out of nowhere, out of Michigan.
Right.
But look what he has accomplished. He's on his way to perhaps becoming the greatest quarterback who ever played this game.
Definitely the most accomplished.
So he is able to speak from a position of supreme confidence because he knows what he has done. It's not what he can do. It's what he has done.
Game recognized game.
And I got it. And Michael Irvin once said, Jerry Rice, Jesus and cleats. So again, Michael can say that, but to me, this is just me. I've told you this before.
Yeah, I just wanted to be one of the disciples. He can have Jesus.
Okay.
I just wanted to be Paul.
Let me tell you,
Barnabas.
Be at the table.
But to me, I'm not going to go to Jesus, but the driving force of those 3 championships in Dallas, Texas was not the quarterback or the running back. It was that wideout. And it's hard to be a wideout and be the leader of the team, but he was. That just means I covered the team.
No doubt.
Okay, so Michael was speaking from a position of strength there, of supreme confidence. Yet in this case, there's some in Brady, he's got a little bit of that Boston thing in him where he's got a little bit of a hint of sarcasm between the lines, because he also knows that he could say, I can't do what Jeff George did, or I can't do what Jay Cutler does. But he full well knows he's way better than those guys.
Right.
Or let's go to Michael Vick. I can't do what Michael Vick does, but obviously in the end, he's far more accomplished than Michael Vick ever was. But there are things that he can do in the pocket. Listen, Tom Brady's feet in the pocket, they're sweet now. He's got that tap dancer, ballet dancer going in the pocket, because he can create quick space in ways that very few people have been able to create. It's in your head. You're seeing it before it happens. But just the slightest quick step to the left gives you a half second more to throw it to Julian Edelman. So he's making a star out of Julian Edelman.
Yes.
And he knows he's doing it against odds, because he's had one great receiver that you knew very well, and Randy Moss. And that's it, man, as far as Gronk.
Gronk ain't too bad.
No, okay, I got you.
Bad.
But here he's gone on a mission this year, and he hadn't had Gronk for the last 9 games now?
Yeah.
So to me, there's some weird balance in there. The only guy I ever covered who's like, and a lot of our viewers won't even know who he is, but Roger Staubach was out of this same mold, or maybe Tom's out of his mold, because I got to tell you, Roger Staubach could come across as the man next door, just the nicest, kindest, gee whiz, aw shucks man.
Right.
But you wouldn't want to mess with him, because he would fight you over ping pong or whatever you want to play. He would fight you. He would fist fight you, because I've seen it. I saw it happen a couple of times.
Most great players are very competitive.
Right.
John Elway was very, very competitive.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother thing.
And that's the thing. So whether we were playing Jeopardy on television, or whether we were shooting shots, or whatever it was, you want to compete, because that's why a lot of athletes have a hard time getting away from the game.
But I saw John's athletic arrogance off the field in interviews. He could be a little bit defensive and a little. I saw it the way Aaron Rodgers is. We're going to talk about that later in the show. The difference between Aaron Rodgers' demeanor and the way he handles himself and Tom Brady. Tom Brady goes full on. Gee whiz, all shucks. I don't even know who he is sometimes.
Right.
And I'm not sure.
I think also Tom had a lot of admiration for Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And the way he went about doing his business. And after every time you could tell in the greeting afterwards how he admired Peyton and what he did, the things he stood for, and the way he went about his business. But Tom, over the last 5 or 6 years, has transformed 3 parts of his game. His arm. His arm is stronger at 39 than it was before.
I'm not sure how that happened, but he did.
Absolutely. Well, he's changed his throwing motion, and he's worked on that. He's transformed his body. All right? His body at 39, 39 is the new 29 based on time. He wants to play another 4 or 5 years. That's also a message to Belichick. So you see him doing things so that he can get better, and that's what the greatest always do. They're never satisfied of what they've done. They're always in search of their potential, because potential is everything that you haven't done. Everyone else is relying on everything that they've done. But Tom is looking like my potential is still even greater than where I am now.
He puts the time in, the way he eats, the way he sleeps, everything Tom Brady does is how can I become an even better quarterback? Everything. And that's what the greats do. Everything, because I don't care what anybody tell you. Forget what you've heard. All great players have egos. And the greater the player, the greater the ego, and the greater the selfishness. Because you have to be selfish to put that. You're going to miss some recitals. You're going to miss some football games. You're going to have to tell mama, we can't go do the dinner. But after in the off season, we're going to make up for this.
Right.
But right now, from August until January, February, it's all football all the time. It takes a toll. But you have to understand what you're getting into before you get into it. Because every great player I've ever been around, they had one single focus. It was football.
And then maybe we should take his words to heart. Skip, Aaron Rodgers is that good. Did Tom Brady think so?
You know what they're going to say? I never played quarterback. I never called a play. I'm not an offensive coordinator. But Tom Brady's been 11 AFC Championship games, counting the one coming up this week.
Which is a record by far.
He's been in 6 Super Bowls. He's won 4. He's been a 3-time Super Bowl MVP. He's been a league MVP. And he said...
What did he say?
He can make throws that nobody currently or ever. Look, see,
and wait a second. His playoff record was in grave danger of falling to 8-7 if those 2 56 and 51-yard field goals hadn't made it.
A lot like Peyton Manning.
Well, there you go. There you go.
You know what, Skip? I put an ER. He said it's ever.
Ever?
Ever.
Yeah?
No quarterback ever.
Hey, I'll cut up some tape of Jay Cutler and I'll just blow you away. I will. I'll knock your socks off.
Will you make sure you put the one of him moping on the sideline?
Yeah, well,
you make sure you cut that tape up.
Yeah.
Skip, don't you think it's so nice that Shannon and Chris, study you so much?
Yeah, I do. I'm impressed.
Oh, we took a look now. We got to take a look. The film don't lie.
I don't think he's nervous, though.
No, he should be.
No mercy. This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. That's all for us today at Undisputed. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. Yes, I had a wonderful birthday yesterday. Thanks again for all the birthday comments. Come back and see us tomorrow when we're joined by our in-house Hall of Famer, Chris Carter, and former Green Bay Packer, A.J. Hawk, and Jim Jackson.
Fox Sports, one of one.